Hi everyone, it's Toy here. It's been a while since I made a video, and yeah, I'm coming back with another unscripted video. Just some things I've been thinking about, really. So, today I was kind of asking myself, what is the purpose of edgy culture on the internet? And the reason why I wanna talk about it, because I know it's been a thing for many, many years. I'm aware. But it's been making itself more and more present. Like, I feel like it's been having a resurgence. We had a time when the internet was playing things a lot more safe. But I feel like we've gotten back to that point of we're dumping in more points into edgy again, from what I've noticed, and it's also been making its way into real life. I'm a pretty social person. I talk to people in real life, and I also enjoy talking to people on the internet. I think it's fun to speak to people from other cultures, other countries. It's pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, recently I met someone who I had a really nice chat with at first. Like, I felt like, okay, yeah, I vibe with this person, but then I kind of like randomly get hit with a really weird, edgy remark from my own POV because I'm not into edgy humor anymore. I used to be. I can't deny that. In the past, when I was a teenager, I used to be really into it. Um, and honestly, for my part, now as a 24-year-old grown adult, looking back on it, I didn't really have a good reason. Like, it was just what was popular at the time. But now I'm kind of wondering, as grown adults of like my generation, what purpose does edgy culture hold in their lives? Because for me, as I said, it was like it was what was popular at the time. But I feel like as you grow up, you tend to make more informed uh choices of the kind of vocabulary you cultivate and the decisions you make and so on and so forth. And it's fine, like it's your life, you're free to make those decisions however you see fit. I'm just kind of wondering, what is the purpose behind the way of life? What's the reason of doing it? Because for me, it just was a surface level one. So I'm curious for those that choose to subscribe to this. What is the purpose there? Why do we do that? Or rather, I mean, why do that? Because there's no longer a we as long as I'm involved. But anyway, as I said, I had a conversation with someone. It seemed like we were getting along pretty well, but then I just kind of like, I talk about something related to my hobbies, was a really harmless thing. And this person just comes out of nowhere and says, "Ooh, sounds like you're on the Epstein list or whatever." And I don't know. Guess it depends on who you're talking to, but me personally, I'm not really fond of using humor to cope with like, you know, um societal or moral issues at play. And yeah, I did let this person know, hey, yeah, I'm not into that kind of humor, and we were fine. But the conversation just kind of died there. Like, they just gave me a response. They said, fair, fair, and then the conversation just ended. And I feel like that's a shame because I was having fun until that, because, like, what do I do? Like, I think it's better to give a response than to just completely ignore the person and to never speak to them again. Might not be my jam what they're doing, but yeah, I'm not in the business of ghosting people. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about, because I still have a part of me when it comes to like, I still have a part of internet culture integrated in my own life. For example, I'm in the LGBTQ plus community, and I kind of speak like, yeah, slay, diva, and like eight, and like all that. But I use it very sparingly and mindfully. Like, I'm always paying attention to who I'm talking to. I always really wait for quite a bit to feel things out, to feel whether or not I can use that kind of language around them, if it's something they're comfortable with. Because I've also seen people making fun of this sort of thing. Like, maybe you've seen some like Instagram reels of or TikToks. People were making fun of like people that speak like that constantly, which, yeah, I get it if it annoys people for like someone to talk to them that way, like only in buzzwords and whatnot, like permanently, when they haven't even like checked if you're part of the same culture and like use the same language, if you will. Like, it would sound annoying to me too if I had someone speak to me in a language I didn't understand and they just kept doing it without caring whether or not I can understand what they're saying or whether I'm comfortable with the way they're saying things. Yeah, the point is, I believe checking the waters, because it shouldn't be illegal. Like, we all have free speech and all that. But I believe um, the way you see life, you shouldn't just think of everyone having the same filter as you do. Like, not everyone sees life through the same filter as you do. So if your coping mechanism is to make um, edgy jokes about everything, or like use dark humor to make friends with people. Yeah, I don't really think you should completely stop it because, like, you have your own community, and who am I to judge? But I think when you're meeting new people or you're engaged with people on a general level, on a general societal level, and you're not in private, I don't know. Look for some clues, ask for permission, because maybe some people don't want to be having flashbacks, like horrible things that come to mind whenever you speak to them that way. I don't really have to explain this, but you know what I mean. Anyway, um, I'm just kind of wondering because the way that I speak to people, uh, because it was something that I realized was important for me to speak to people in the way that I want to be spoken to, because um, I realized that I wanted people to be nicer to me and respect me. And I realized that if I wanted to achieve that in my life, I should give people the same in return, the same treatment, and to be more kind and considerate and understanding, since I want people to treat me the same way. I just yeah, sometimes I feel like I also get passionate about some things, and um yeah, I can be a pretty opinionated person. I can be genuinely mad when bad things happen to good people, or when it comes to art. Like, I want to give to like be involved in communities and give opinions on art, because that's what I like to do sometimes. It's not that like my opinions hold like any crazy value or whatever. I should be free to express them whether they give any value or not. The point is, I speak in such a way that some people probably find fake or over the top, because I've been called performative before by some people, some random people on the internet. And yeah, I get it. Like, everyone's part of different cultures, and it it just sounds like sometimes when someone speaks in like such a completely different tone or way compared to you, it starts sounding kind of like alien, kind of fake, kind of fabricated, because it's not the kind of reality that you're used to. So that's probably why you think someone speaking in such a way is performative. Because yeah, you are what you surround yourself with, and I don't know, like what I want to surround myself with is, I don't know, warm people that respect me, and I want to do the same. And I want people who have that kind of passion for life, that actually do want to talk about things and do want to bring up things, and are not just the kind of people that just sweep everything under the rug and just keep saying that, oh, this isn't a big deal, this and that, and this is you're you're making this more than it has to be, and blah blah blah. And just the whole business of, as I said, sweeping things out under the rug, and uh constantly telling people, yeah, you're making too much of a big deal about this, it's not a big deal, nobody cares. That this whole nobody cares as well, it's something that you would hear a lot when you're trying to speak about things. And yeah, I just I think I've spoken to some people about this before, and I think it might come from a place of, why does it matter if I speak about things? Because I won't be able to bring change, and nothing will happen, and I will be ignored. I think they just feel that sense of powerlessness, and Maybe they get kind of triggered when they see people being vocal about change, about wanting change. Just an idea, like they might not consciously think about it in that way, but it's something that might be ingrained in them. Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, that's really how you change things. You discuss, you put things in motion. Because never talking about anything is not gonna make things better. And yeah, I just think that I wanna understand the whole edgy, dark humor kind of culture. I guess I've heard about it before that it does make people cope with traumatic situations better or extreme stress. But I don't know, I just feel like it that constant exposure to all that, because you kind of are keeping it present in your life if you go about it that way. It still has that kind of power over you. Like people might think, oh, I'm taking the power away from it because I'm making fun of it. And you can tell yourself that it doesn't really have to mean anything. But kind of because things generally, let's say that hypothetically things generally don't mean anything. It is because they don't mean anything that we choose what means what and what's important and what isn't. We decide that in our lives. And if you choose to keep that kind of way of life, from my personal standpoint, yeah, it just sounds like that's what's important to you. That's the kind of way of life you want to have. That's what your values are. That's where your values are. I've also lived through this whole powerlessness narrative of don't speak up about things, and if something bothers you, just let it bother you and it will pass. And you see that person, for example, I was in high school. I had a bunch of people that I really didn't like. They'd come up to me and kind of like force me into awkward social situations or make weird jokes around me, and I wouldn't say anything about it because I was kind of like in survival mode. I was really anxious back then, and I don't know if I had that much to look forward to in life. And every day there, I was kind of like, yeah, just gotta get through this day with these people, and then I'll go home. But then I'm starting it all over again the next day. or the next week, I'm still gonna be in that same situation if I don't do anything about it, if I just allow it to keep happening. And also, what started happening as well, where I just resented these people, I just kind of started resenting being around people in general or not feeling as comfortable. It just kind of got to that point where there were really no circumstances that I could control, or I couldn't make my life look a certain type of way. And I was kind of like behaving as a victim of my own circumstances. Point is, I think I realized that for me, at least, it's important to do things with purpose. And I rarely do things for no reason. I think I'm the kind of person that likes to ask myself, how is this thing that I'm doing right now? Like, in what way is this thing that I'm doing right now contributing to my long-term goals in life, to the things I want to achieve? It could be pretty small things like hanging out with someone. I'm kind of thinking, is this the kind of person I'd like to have around me when the going gets tough? Or when I pick up a new hobby, what can I actually do with this new hobby? What kind of sense of fulfillment does it give me? And what need does it satisfy in my life? Does it satisfy a social need? Does it satisfy a need for physical achievements, if you will? Like I have something, some kind of proof that shows that I lived my life in a specific type of way. That I did something that had a physical impact on the world. I created something, maybe. I just think it's important to think about legacy sometimes, to think about how you want people to remember you. And having been there as a teenager where I was using dark humor to cope with my own reality, or whether because it was just the popular thing at the time, I just remember how it really didn't bring me those kinds of people that I wanted in my life, that I felt like I needed. Because let me tell you a bit more about myself. Um, I grew up uh, with an absentee father, and my mom was just taking care of 80% of my needs pretty much, financially and whatnot. Like she did pretty much everything almost. And there were times where it felt like she legit did everything by herself. Uh, he died last year. I went no contact with him before he died for like more than half a year, probably. And Yeah, I think it was at the start of 2025 actually, when I looked at my own life, because I looked at the fact that I basically only have one parent that's ever been in my life, and I don't really have relations, if you will, with my extended family. They're kind of like strangers. And I also looked at my relationships with my siblings that, for the most part, I've also gone no contact with because of the fact that they behaved in really abusive ways. Like, I was downright abused by them at certain times of my life. In certain times of my life, I had extremely difficult relationships with them that I tried very hard to fix, to make better. And it got up to a point where I realized, yeah, we just can't be around one another. It's just not good for us. And yeah, now in life, we're just kind of like emergency contacts if anything happens to our mom. But other than that, it got up to a point where I realized I did everything that I could and it just didn't work out. I just but genuinely started believing, and I firmly believe it in now, that we will never be able to be friends after everything that happened. So yeah, in my life I have very few actual friends that I can rely on because I'm not one of those people that has family to fall back on generally. I know there's this saying that a lot of people live by, family before friends. But for me, my mission in life for over a year now has been create your found family. And yeah, I've just been thinking how I would want that to look like and what I would need to do to achieve it and what kind of person I'd want to be to have that. And yeah, I realized that it's important for people to show up in my life in a way that feels welcoming, that feels warm, rather than a way that feels fickle. Like it's all just one big joke and you don't know when they're being serious about something and when they're being for real. Because my experience with circles of people that use a lot of dark humor, if you will, is that they can sneak in uh, snarky remarks that have this certain bite about them when they know that they shouldn't really be saying that and that it could be something that makes you uncomfortable, but they do it anyway because it's just jokes, right? So you never really know when they're genuinely being fucking mean and spiteful to you or when it's all just one big joke. Because when the lines blur like that, who can you really rely on to be by your side? Because from my own experience, people that um, go about in life using a lot of dark humor to get by also generally don't really have the kind of emotional intelligence that I'm looking for in my found family, if you will. So whenever I see people that use a lot of dark humor and it's generally like a big part of their life, I just can't help but think that, yeah, we're incompatible. I don't think we can be friends because yeah, the language that you use, this is what I believe, can speak volumes about what values you have as a person. Because I've met people that told me that they would never say those kinds of things to people in real life situations, like the dark humor jokes and all that. But I met someone who, funnily enough, like even studied psychology and shit. And he said, because I got a bit concerned with the way that he was speaking to, at the time, a common friend of ours. He said that he would never say those kinds of things to someone in a real life situation. But then when he had a falling out with one of the at the time friends that I introduced him to, well, he spoke to them in such a vile and disgusting way and just kept harassing that poor person so much. Yeah, the kind of language that you use is what I really came to believe after that incident as well. It really does speak volumes about your beliefs, about your values. You can say that to yourself that there's no correlation, but vocabulary, for the most part, like there are some things that just make their way in their like earworms for a while, and those things can happen. But vocabulary is still a choice. It's still a conscious choice that you make for yourself. And when you couple it with the fact that hypothetically, nothing holds any value and it's all meaningless, then you attribute meaning to everything that you do because there's so many other choices that they all hold no meaning, right? So why did you choose this choice in particular then? Because in your life, in your own personal universe, that resonated in some type of way, whether on a conscious or a subconscious level. That's what I believe. So let me ask again, what purpose does dark humor or edgy internet culture hold to you? And before I leave you with that, I also want to talk a bit about how just also more and more slurs getting, how do you say, uh just this resurgence of them happening in real life as well and on the internet, of course, but also in real life is what surprised me. Because like you'd be thinking some of these people they don't speak like that in real life, But unfortunately, I did see it. And yeah, it actually does happen. Like, I genuinely saw people talking in that internet kind of way in real life. That does happen. Because once again, like, you associate yourself with all of these stimuli, they become part of your life. And sometimes they all just blend together. And the other thing is you have, like, for example, slurs, like the R word. Uh, People, and this is not even that new, because it's been a thing for a bunch of years now. But I'm just giving this an example because more and more words started being shifted in this kind of way. Like, you have the R word slur. People now say you're restarted instead, or instead of KYS, they just say keys, 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 and many more. And I don't know, like, does it really make you feel better to talk like this? Do you feel like it gives you more agency in your life? Genuine question here. Because to me, I don't really think, like, for me, it's just a waste of time to even be talking to someone that I don't get along, right? I've realized that I can't see eye to eye, or someone that I feel like I've gotten to a point in which I genuinely dislike them. I just don't really see a point in engaging with them more than I already did, because I did the thing. I found out I don't vibe with this person. So why just be so bitter about it? Like, if, once again, going back to that, like if nothing ever means anything and life is one big joke, why do you go through all these steps to hate people so much, or to hate things so much, or to dunk on things so much, and to troll about everything so much? Because everything's just trolling and memes, right? If it all just doesn't mean anything, why? You just attributed new meaning to something that didn't mean anything by doing that. So, once again, I'll leave you with this question. What did, or what does still, edgy internet culture do for you? I want you to think about that. What is its purpose in your life?